Everyone thought the dungeons were humanity's punishment. A hole in the sky, a crack in the street, a gate to somewhere that hated us. Every time one opened, the government sent soldiers. Hunters rushed in with weapons. News anchors screamed the same order over and over. Close the dungeon before the monsters escape. That became the first law of the apocalypse. Close it, burn it, destroy the core, seal the nightmare before it spreads. But one starving man looked at a dungeon and asked a question no one else was desperate enough to ask. What if the dungeon wasn't just a threat? What if it was a mine, a farm, a fortress? What if the very thing ending the world could be turned into the only thing keeping people alive? His name was Elias Vorn, and by the time the world understood what he had built, he was no longer just a survivor. He was the owner of the world's most valuable resource, the ruler of humanity's first safe dungeon, and the one man powerful enough to make governments and corporations kneel. But Elias didn't start as a king. He started as an older brother with blood on his hands, running through a dying city, trying to save the only family he had left. The first dungeon opened above Seoul on a Monday morning. There was no warning siren, no prophecy, no dramatic countdown, just a deep, ugly sound rolling across the sky, like the world itself was being ripped open from the other side. Elias was standing outside a cheap grocery store, holding a plastic bag with rice, eggs, and 2 bruised apples. His phone was pressed to his ear. On the other side, his little sister Mina was crying. "Appa, the apartment is shaking." Elias stopped walking. At first, he thought it was an earthquake. Then the crowd around him began looking up. One by one, conversations died. Cars slowed in the middle of the road. A delivery driver removed his helmet. A woman dropped her coffee. And above the financial district, between 2 glass towers, a black circle opened in the sky. It didn't spin like a portal in movies, pulsed like an infected wound. The air around it bent inward. Then something pale pushed through. A long arm, too many joints, a head with no eyes. Then another, and another, until the sky began vomiting monsters. For 3 seconds, the entire city froze. Nobody wanted to be the first person to admit what they were seeing was real. Then one of the creatures fell onto a traffic light and tore a man in half. The spell broke. People screamed. Cars crashed into each other. A bus swerved onto the sidewalk. Glass exploded from office windows and rained onto the streets below. Elias dropped the grocery bag. The eggs cracked against the pavement. One apple rolled in a slow circle near his shoe. He stared at it like an idiot. Red skin, brown bruise, something painfully normal in a world that had suddenly stopped making sense. Then Mina screamed his name. "Appa!" Elias ran. He didn't run like a hero. He ran like a man whose body understood before his mind did. His chest burned. His shoulder slammed into strangers. Someone grabbed his sleeve, begging for help. But he tore free before he even realized what he had done. That guilt followed him for years. The face of a stranger he abandoned. The sound of someone calling for help behind him. But in that moment, Elias had only one thought. Mina was alone. Their parents were dead. Their relatives had vanished from their lives the moment money became difficult. There was no one coming for her, only him, and if he was late, then the last thing his little sister would know before death was that her brother didn't make it in time. By the time Elias reached their apartment complex, the sky above the neighborhood was red from fire. Not sunset, fire. The building leaned to one side, cracked from the foundation to the roof like something giant had punched. Smoke poured from the lower floors. People were crawling out of broken windows. A man with half his face covered in dust stumbled past Elias and kept whispering, "My wife, my wife." Elias forced himself not to stop. He hated himself for it. But he climbed. 4th floor, broken stairs, smoke in his lungs, blood on the handrail, a child's shoe on the landing. He reached their apartment and found the front door hanging from one hinge. "Mina!" His voice came out raw. No answer. Inside, the living room was destroyed. The cheap sofa was split open. A family photo lay face down beneath broken glass. The kitchen ceiling had collapsed. And under a slab of concrete, Elias saw a pink rabbit keychain. Mina's school backpack. For a moment, his legs went weak. Then he heard a tiny breath. "Appa!" Elias threw himself toward the kitchen. Mina was trapped under the fallen counter, her face pale, her school uniform covered in dust. One leg was pinned under a concrete slab. Her lips trembled when she saw him. "You came." Elias tried to smile, came out broken. "What kind of stupid question is that?" He grabbed the slab and pulled. It didn't move. He pulled again. His fingers scraped against concrete. His palms split open. Blood smeared gray stone. Still nothing. Come on. He planted his foot against the floor and pulled until his shoulders felt like they were tearing apart. Mina bit her sleeve to stop herself from screaming. That hurt Elias more than the blood. She was trying not to scare him. His little sister was trapped under a collapsed kitchen, and she was worried about making things harder for him. Then something moved in the hallway. A wet scraping sound. Slow. Dragging. Elias turned. A shadow crawled across the broken wall. Long arms. Bent back. A head twitching toward their breathing. Mina saw his face change. Appa! Elias picked up a broken metal pipe from the floor. His hands shook so badly the pipe rattled against his fingers. He had never been brave. People thought quiet men were calm. But Elias had spent most of his life avoiding confrontation because fear lived close under his skin. At work, when managers stole credit for his designs, he stayed silent. When landlords raised rent, he bowed his head. When relatives said he was wasting his life taking care of Mina, he swallowed the anger. He had always believed if he endured enough, life would eventually become gentle. But life had only become crueler. The monster entered the apartment. Its skin looked like wet paper stretched over bones. Its mouth opened sideways, too wide, full of teeth like broken needles. Elias stepped in front of Mina. The pipe felt small. His fear felt enormous. Mina whispered, "I'm scared." Elias swallowed. His voice shook. "Me too." The monster lunged. Elias swung. The pipe smashed into its jaw with a crack, but it didn't stop. It slammed into him and drove him into the wall. Pain burst through his shoulder. Claws tore through his jacket. His teeth snapped inches from his face. Elias screamed and shoved the pipe into its mouth, holding it back with both hands. The creature's breath was rotten and hot. His arms trembled. He was losing. He knew he was losing. Then Mina reached across the floor, grabbed a kitchen knife with both hands, and stabbed the monster's ankle. The creature shrieked. That tiny opening was all Elias had. He pulled the pipe free and swung down. Once, twice, again, not like a fighter, like a terrified brother refusing to let death pass him. When the monster finally stopped moving, Elias stood over it, shaking so hard he could barely breathe. The apartment fell silent. Then a blue window opened above the corpse. First kill confirmed. Dungeon particle absorbed. Compatibility found. Unique authority awakened. Dungeon architect. Elias stared at the screen. Blood dripped from his fingers. Dust floated through the apartment like snow. Another message appeared. You may close dungeon gates, or you may claim them. At the time, Elias didn't understand what it meant. No one did. Not the military. Not the government. Not the corporations already planning how to profit from the end of the world. But that single option, claim instead of close, would change everything. 3 weeks later, humanity stopped pretending society still existed. The news still played emergency broadcasts, but half the anchors were dead. The government still issued orders, but no one knew which shelters were actually listening. The rich districts vanished behind private walls and armed drones. Hospitals collapsed first, then supply chains, then trust. People no longer said neighborhoods. They said dead zones. They no longer said missing. They said taken. They no longer asked, "Are you okay?" They asked, "Do you have water?" Elias and Mina lived in an abandoned subway station beneath the city with hundreds of other survivors. At night, the tunnels echoed with coughing, crying, and distant screams from above. During the day, people lined up outside military tents for ration packs stamped with corporate logos. 1 bottle of water per person. If there was enough, there was never enough. Mina's leg got worse. The injury from the apartment collapse had turned purple around the edges. Fever made her skin burn. Elias traded his watch for antibiotics, then his jacket for bandages, then his father's old ring for 3 bottles of water. On the 5th day, he had nothing left to trade. He sat beside Mina on a dirty blanket, pressing a wet cloth to her forehead. Her breathing was shallow. Every few minutes, she tried to smile at him. That smile made him feel like someone was slowly crushing his chest. Because Mina still believed in him. Even now, even with nothing, he looked down at his empty hands, his cracked palms, the scars from the apartment. Then the yellow system opened again. Dungeon architect. Claimed gates. 0. Available functions. Detect/claim/stabilize/modify. Elias had ignored the screen for 3 weeks. He hated it. It reminded him of the monster, the apartment, the moment he had almost failed. But desperation has a way of making hated things useful. That night, while Mina slept, Elias overheard two men whispering near the tracks. A small dungeon gate had opened inside the old Han River water facility. The military had marked it for closure. Low rank, low priority, too dangerous for civilians, not valuable enough for real hunters. Elias heard the words water facility and couldn't stop thinking about it. Water. His sister needed water. Everyone needed water. At dawn, he lied to Mina. I'm going to look for medicine. She opened one eye. Even half-conscious, she knew him too well. Don't do something stupid. He smiled softly. I'm your brother. Stupid runs in the family. She tried to laugh, turned into a cough. That cough followed him all the way to the facility. The streets were almost empty now. Not peaceful. Empty. There is a difference. Peace feels safe. This felt like the city was holding its breath because something was hunting nearby. The water treatment plant stood behind a broken fence, its entrance wrapped in military warning tape. The soldiers were gone, either reassigned or dead. Inside, the air smelled like rust, wet concrete, and old machines. Elias moved carefully through the dark, holding a crowbar in one hand and a flashlight in the other. Every step echoed too loud. Every shadow looked alive. Then he saw it. The dungeon gate hovered inside the main filtration chamber. A vertical tear of blue-black light. Quiet. Beautiful. Wrong. Elias stopped a few meters away. His hands began to sweat. This was the moment where a normal person turned back. Hunters entered dungeons in teams. Soldiers entered with rifles. Elias had a crowbar, an empty backpack, and a sister slowly dying underground. He stepped closer. The system reacted. Unclaimed dungeon detected. Type: Water Vein Dungeon. Rank: F. Warning: closing this dungeon will destroy its core resource. Elias frowned. Core resource? Another line appeared. Core resource. Purified mana water. His breathing changed. Clean water. Not ration water. Not rain collected from broken rooftops. Not dirty water boiled over trash fires. Clean water. The kind people were stealing for, killing for. The kind corporations were already locking behind armored trucks and selling back to starving families. His first thought was Mina. His second thought made him ashamed. How much is clean water worth when the whole world is thirsty? He stepped into the dungeon. Cold swallowed him. The water facility disappeared. Elias stood inside a cavern of blue stone and silver streams. Glowing crystals grew from the walls like frozen lightning. Clear water ran along the ground, gathering in pools so pure they reflected his face like glass. For a moment, he forgot the apocalypse. He forgot the smoke, the blood, the subway station. He simply stared, because the world above had become so ugly that beauty itself felt suspicious. Then something moved under the water. A translucent creature rose from the pool. A slime. At its center floated a small glowing stone, pulsing like a heart. Elias lifted the crowbar. The slime lunged. He threw himself sideways and slipped on wet stone. His shoulder slammed into the ground. Pain flashed white behind his eyes. The slime crashed into the spot where his head had been. Elias scrambled backward, breathing hard. It had no eyes, no face, but when his crowbar scraped the floor, the slime snapped toward the sound. Elias froze. Then he tapped the crowbar against the wall. Clink. The slime rushed toward the noise, so it followed vibration, not sight. Elias's fear didn't disappear. It became useful. He threw a loose crystal across the cavern. The slime turned. He ran behind it, raised the crowbar with both hands, and struck the glowing core. Crack. The creature convulsed. He hit it again. The core shattered. The slime collapsed into water. Elias stood there, shaking. Then he laughed once. A small, broken laugh. Not because it was funny, because he had been 1 second away from dying for a bottle of water, and his mind did not know whether to scream or celebrate. The system opened. Dungeon monster defeated. Control rate 13%. Claim conditions available. Option 1. Close dungeon. Option 2. Claim dungeon core. Elias looked around the cavern, at the flowing water, at the endless streams, at the miracle everyone else would destroy because they were too afraid to understand it. Then he thought of the ration tent guard turning away a mother because her token was expired. He thought of Helix Dominion trucks driving past thirsty crowds with black windows. He thought of Mina smiling through fever so he wouldn't feel guilty. His finger moved. Option 2 selected. Claiming dungeon core. The cavern shook. Blue light spread beneath his feet like veins waking inside stone. Information flooded into his mind. Tunnel layout, monster spawn points, water production rate, core stability, harvest limits. It felt like someone had forced an entire city blueprint into his skull. Elias fell to one knee and gritted his teeth. Then, slowly, the pain became understanding. A dungeon wasn't random chaos. It had systems, rules, resources, risk, output, maintenance. It was infrastructure. The world had been closing dungeons like firefighters putting out flames. But some fires could cook food. Some rivers could power cities. Some monsters guarded mines. Everyone else had been burning down gold because they were afraid of the cave. Elias stood. His eyes reflected blue. "No," he whispered. His voice echoed through the cavern. "We're not closing you." He looked at the water flowing from the dungeon walls. "We're farming you." By sunrise, Elias returned to the subway with 12 bottles of purified mana water. He didn't make a speech. He didn't announce a miracle. He only knelt beside Mina, lifted her head, and helped her drink. First, nothing happened. Then her breathing eased. The red heat in her face began fading. Her fingers, which had been limp all night, curled around his sleeve. "Appa!" Elias closed his eyes. For the first time in weeks, he let himself breathe. But miracles are dangerous things when hungry people are watching. The old man beside them stared at the bottle. His granddaughter was lying under a blanket, lips cracked from dehydration. Across the platform, a mother held a crying baby whose voice had become too weak to sound like crying. A boy no older than 10 watched Elias with eyes that had already learned how to beg without words. Elias looked at the remaining bottles in his backpack. 11 bottles. Hundreds of people. Not enough. Never enough. For one dark moment, he imagined hiding them, keeping them for Mina, trading them for medicine, selling them only to those who could help him. And that thought came so easily that it scared him, because the apocalypse had not turned him cruel. It had only revealed how close cruelty was when love became desperate. Mina opened her eyes. She saw the old man, the baby, the thirsty children. Her hand touched Elias's wrist. "Appa!" Her voice was weak. "Help them too." Elias wanted to argue, wanted to say they had nothing, wanted to say the world had never helped them. But Mina was looking at him like she still believed people could be good if someone gave them a reason. So Elias took out one bottle, then another, then another. By the time the backpack was empty, the subway platform had gone silent. The old man cried as his granddaughter drank. The mother pressed her forehead to the floor. Someone whispered, "Thank you." Elias did not feel like a savior. He felt exposed, because now people knew. And in the new world, valuable things attracted monsters. Sometimes they came with claws. Sometimes they came with knives. That night, 3 men followed him. Elias noticed them in the reflection of a broken train window. He kept walking, slow, steady. His heart was beating so hard it hurt. He led them away from the sleeping families, into a maintenance tunnel near the old water facility. One of the men laughed softly behind him. "Brother, no need to act scared. We just want to talk." Elias stopped. The tunnel lights flickered above them. "What do you want?" The man smiled, but his eyes were hungry. "You found something. Water, medicine, maybe both. You're going to show us. And if I say no?" The second man pulled out a knife. "Then maybe your sick little sister drinks last." The tunnel went quiet. Elias felt fear first. Cold, heavy, familiar. Then came anger. Not loud anger. Not the kind that makes people shout. This was quieter, sharper. The kind that begins when a man finally understands that weakness invites negotiation from people who only understand force. They had mentioned Mina. That was their mistake. Elias looked up. "You shouldn't have said that." The men laughed. Then a thin blue line opened in the air behind Elias. The water dungeon answered him. Cold mist spilled into the tunnel. Threads of glowing water crawled along the crowbar in his hand and hardened into ice. The laughter stopped. One man took a step back. "What the hell are you?" Elias moved. He wasn't graceful. He wasn't trained. But he had spent 3 weeks watching kind people get crushed by anyone with more weapons, more food, or more confidence. The ice-covered crowbar smashed into the knife hand. Bone cracked. The second man screamed. The first threw a punch. Elias took it on the jaw, staggered, then drove his shoulder into the man's chest and slammed him against the wall. The third man ran. Elias let him. Not because he was merciful, because fear travels faster when one person escapes to tell the story. The man on the floor clutched his broken hand, breathing hard. Elias stood over him. His own lip was bleeding. "I'm building a place," Elias said. "A place where people like you don't decide who survives." The man spat at his feet. "You think you can protect everyone?" Elias looked back toward the subway station, toward Mina, toward the children sleeping beside empty bottles. "No." His grip tightened around the crowbar. "But I can decide who gets inside." The next morning, Elias made his first rule. Water would be free for children, the sick, and the elderly. Everyone else contributed. Not paid. Contributed. You cooked, carried, cleaned, guarded, repaired, scouted, built, taught, fought. If you could move, you helped. If you could think, you helped. If you could stand watch for 1 hour while someone else slept, you helped. The old world had made survival something you bought. Elias refused to bring that sickness into the new one. Some people called him harsh. Some called him fair. Most just called him the man with water. But the subway changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. A former nurse organized a clinic from scavenged supplies. A retired mechanic repaired the tunnel generators. 2 construction workers reinforced the platform entrances. Teenagers carried bottles from the dungeon in shifts. An old teacher gathered children around a lantern and gave them lessons so their days would not be made only of fear. People who had spent weeks waiting to die began waking up with tasks. And tasks became routine. Routine became order. Order became hope. Elias watched it happen with tired eyes. He understood the pattern before anyone else did. A resource creates dependency. Dependency creates loyalty. Loyalty creates territory. And territory, if defended long enough, becomes a kingdom. He didn't want a kingdom. He barely wanted to be responsible for himself. But every night, when he walked past sleeping families and saw guards standing at tunnel entrances because they finally had something worth protecting, Elias felt the invisible weight settle on his shoulders. Not a crown. Not yet. Responsibility. The second dungeon opened inside a collapsed subway tunnel. This one produced heat stones, small orange crystals that burned without smoke. They could warm rooms, cook food, power crude engines. The military wanted to destroy the gate before more monsters crawled out. Elias got there first. He claimed it. The third dungeon appeared beneath an abandoned botanical garden. It grew silver moss that could be dried, boiled, and eaten. Bland, chewy, but safe. Elias claimed it. The fourth dungeon produced black iron or stronger than steel. The fifth produced medicinal fungi. The sixth produced light crystals. Each time, the system gave him warnings. Each time, the monsters grew harder. Each time, Elias almost died. He returned with torn clothes, bruised ribs, and hands shaking from exhaustion. Mina would wait at the platform entrance, pretending not to cry. "You said this one was low risk," she said one night, staring at the deep claw marks across his arm. Elias sat down while the nurse cleaned the wound. "It was." Mina's eyes narrowed. "Appa." He looked away. "If I don't go, people die. And if you die?" Her voice cracked. That hurt more than the antiseptic. Elias didn't answer right away, because he had no good answer. Only the truth. "If I stop now, everything we built gets taken by someone worse." Mina looked at him for a long time. Then she sat beside him and rested her head against his shoulder, careful not to touch the wound. "You're changing." Elias stared at the blue dungeon lights glowing across the platform. "I know. Does that scare you?" He gave a tired smile. "Every day." That was the part no one saw. To the survivors, Elias was becoming a leader. To the outside world, he was becoming a threat. But alone, in the few quiet hours before dawn, he wondered if every hard decision was carving something human out of him. He had started by saving Mina, then the shelter, then the resources. Now he was making lists of who could enter, who had to wait, who could be trusted, who had to be exiled. He hated those lists, but he kept writing them, because kindness without structure becomes chaos, and chaos kills the weak first. 3 months after the first dungeon opened, the subway shelter had a name: Haven. Elias didn't choose it. A little girl did. She had painted the word on a metal sign with yellow paint and crooked letters. Haven. Mina loved it immediately. Elias thought it sounded too hopeful. Hope made people careless. But when he saw the girl standing proudly beside the sign, waiting for his approval, he couldn't crush it. So he nodded, and Haven became real. By then, it was no longer just a subway station. It was a fortress under the ruined city. Dungeon stone reinforced the walls. Mana pipes carried clean water through the tunnels. Heat stones warmed sleeping quarters. Moss farms glowed beneath old train tracks. Black iron gates blocked the main entrances. Every survivor had a role. Every gate had guards. Every resource had a ledger. That ledger mattered. Elias learned fast that a miracle without accounting becomes a war. If people thought water was being stolen, they fought. If food distribution felt unfair, resentment spread. If guards believed cooks ate better than scouts, the walls became weaker. So he wrote everything down. Every bottle, every crystal, every ration. Not because he loved control, because trust needed proof. And proof needed numbers. Haven grew from 300 survivors to 2,000, then 5,000, then more people than the tunnels were built to hold. Every day, crowds gathered outside the outer barricades. Mothers holding children, injured men leaning on sticks, hunters offering weapons, thieves offering fake smiles, families begging for entry. Elias met them himself whenever he could. That became his burden, looking people in the eye while saying yes, or worse, no. One evening, a man grabbed Elias by the sleeve outside the gate. His wife stood behind him, pregnant and shivering. "Please," the man begged. "We walked 3 days. She can't sleep outside." Elias looked at the woman, at her swollen belly, at the cracked skin around her lips. Then he looked at the gate ledger. Haven's oxygen flow was already strained. Food production was behind. The clinic was full. If he opened the gate for every heartbreaking story, Haven would collapse within a week. The man fell to his knees. "I'll do anything." Elias felt everyone watching him. The guards, the waiting crowd, Mina, standing near the gate with a clipboard pressed against her chest. He wanted to say yes. The word burned in his throat. Instead, he turned to his intake officer. "Emergency medical section, temporary shelter, 3 days. Assign him to outer wall repair. Put her under clinic observation." The man sobbed with relief. Mina exhaled quietly. Elias did not smile, because he knew the truth. For that family to enter, someone else had to wait. That night, he added another line to his private notebook. "A leader is not someone who saves everyone. A leader is someone hated by the people he fails to save." Then came the white convoy. It arrived just after sunrise. Clean vehicles, white armor, no dents, no mud, no blood, the kind of cleanliness that felt insulting in a dead city. Haven's guards raised their weapons from the barricade. Survivors gathered behind them, whispering. Elias stood at the front gate wearing a black coat patched at the shoulder. The old crowbar hung at his belt, not because it was his strongest weapon anymore, because he wanted to remember what he was before people started bowing. A woman stepped out of the lead vehicle. Perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect smile. Behind her stood private soldiers in polished armor with the Helix Dominion logo on their chests. Everyone knew Helix. Before the collapse, they sold smart homes, medical devices, clean energy, and security systems. After the collapse, they sold survival. The woman approached the gate as if she were entering a business meeting. "Mr. Vorn," she said. "My name is Director Seraphine Vale." Elias did not shake her hand. "What do you want?" Her smile stayed warm. "To help." A few survivors laughed bitterly behind him. Seraphine's eyes moved across Haven's walls, the mana pipes, the organized guards, and the controlled dungeon entrances. But she wasn't just looking at Haven. She was testing Elias. She stepped closer than necessary, her smile warm enough to feel dangerous, her fingers brushing his arm as she passed. Then she leaned in, close enough for her breath to touch his ear. Elias kept his eyes locked forward. He refused to look anywhere else, and he hated how aware he was of every inch of her. Seraphine smiled and whispered, "Eyes up here, soldier." For one brief second, Elias's gaze betrayed him. Then he forced it back up, jaw tight, face burning, trying to stay composed. "You've done something remarkable, Elias," she said softly. "But this operation has outgrown you." Elias said nothing, because silence was safer than admitting she was getting under his pants. I meant skin." Seraphine traced one gloved finger lightly across his chest. "You have water, heat, food substitutes, energy crystals, and controlled dungeon access," she said. "But you lack legal protection, medical infrastructure, distribution channels, satellite defense, national recognition." Her smile sharpened. "And perhaps a very smart woman who knows exactly how to tend to your needs." She tilted her head. Don't you agree, Elias? Elias cut her off before her touch could linger. We have people. Seraphine paused. Then she smiled again, amused instead of offended, and leaned close to his ear once more. People need systems, Elias, she whispered. And sometimes, they need someone clever enough to understand what they truly want. Elias didn't move, but one thought passed through his mind. This woman is dangerous. They have one. No, she said gently. They have you, and that is fragile. Elias hated how calm she sounded, because she wasn't entirely wrong. Seraphine opened a slim black case. Inside was a contract. Real paper, clean print, gold seal. Beside it lay a black card with Elias's name engraved on it. Transfer operational authority of all claimed dungeons to Helix Dominion. In return, you will receive executive protection, private housing, full medical care for your sister, and personal wealth large enough to rebuild your life anywhere. The crowd went silent. Mina's fingers tightened around her clipboard. Seraphine noticed. Of course she noticed. Predators always notice where the soft place is. She still limps, Seraphine said softly, and I imagine the pain is getting worse. Elias's expression did not move, but inside, something cold opened. Seraphine stepped closer. We have surgeons, real equipment, real medicine. You've done your best with basement clinics and brave volunteers, but love cannot replace treatment. Mina looked down. Elias saw it. The tiny movement, the way she tried to hide her face so he wouldn't feel pressured. That almost broke him, because for 1 second Elias wanted to say yes. Not for money, not for comfort. For Mina, a real bed, a clean room, doctors who didn't have to reuse bandages, food that wasn't rationed, a life where she could be a younger sister again instead of the moral compass of an underground kingdom. Wasn't this why he started? To save her? His hand moved toward the contract. No one breathed. Mina whispered, Appa, just his name, the same way she had said it beneath the rubble. Elias stopped. He looked at her, then behind him, at the people of Haven. The old man whose granddaughter now worked as a messenger. The mother who ran the kitchen. The former soldier teaching teenagers how to hold a shield line. The children drinking clean water from dented cups. If he signed, Mina might be saved. But everyone else would become customers again. Helix would put a price on water. Price on heat. Price on entry. Price on hope. Elias closed the case. No. Seraphine's smile faded by 1 millimeter. That was all. But the temperature around the gate changed. No, she repeated. Haven is not for sale. Her guards shifted. Haven's guards raised their weapons. A child started crying somewhere behind the barricade. Seraphine studied Elias like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. You misunderstand your position, she said. This is not a negotiation between equals. I know. Then be intelligent. I am. Are you? Her voice sharpened. Because from where I'm standing, you are one exhausted man protecting a basement full of refugees from forces you cannot possibly defeat. Elias stepped closer to the gate. And from where I'm standing, you are a woman asking thirsty people to hand you the well. For the first time, Seraphine's eyes turned cold. She closed the black case. The government has classified unlicensed dungeon control as a national security threat. Helix Dominion has been granted emergency recovery rights under stabilization law. In 72 hours, this area will be seized. Fear moved through the crowd like wind through dry grass. Mina went pale. Elias felt the weight of thousands of lives turn toward him. Seraphine turned back to her vehicle. Spend the next 3 days wisely, Mr. Vorn. She paused at the door. And tell your sister I truly hope you don't make her suffer for your pride. The convoy drove away. No one spoke for a long time. Then Mina touched Elias's sleeve. What are we going to do? Elias looked at the street where the white vehicles had disappeared. He had known this day would come. Maybe not today. Maybe not Helix. But something like this. The moment Haven became valuable, someone powerful would arrive with a smile first, and soldiers second. The yellow system panel opened in front of him. Haven core stability, 91%. Population, 5,742. Loyalty index, 81%. Claimed dungeons, 6. New authority available. Dungeon territory expansion. Warning. Activating this authority will declare Haven an independent dungeon domain. Outside forces entering without permission will be classified as invaders. Elias stared at the words. His throat went dry. A shelter could be seized. A company could be bought. A resource could be nationalized. But a dungeon domain was different. It was not a building, not a business, not a camp. It was territory recognized by dungeon law. Sovereignty, the kind no human government had written yet. Mina read the screen over his shoulder. Her voice was small. If you press that, I know. They'll call you a rebel. I know. They'll come harder. I know. And what will you become? That question hurt because Elias had been asking himself the same thing. What was a good man allowed to do before goodness became decoration? How much power could he take before protecting people became ruling them? How many enemies could he crush before he started enjoying the sound? He looked at Mina, then at Haven, at the walls built by tired hands, at the pipes carrying water through the dark, at the children who no longer cried from thirst. All his life, Elias had waited for permission. Permission to work. Permission to earn. Permission to live somewhere safe. Permission to protect what little he had. And every time, the people holding that permission had used it like a leash. His hand rose. The crowd held its breath. If they want Haven, Elias said, they can come as guests. His finger hovered over the system button. Or invaders. He pressed confirm. Dungeon territory expansion activated. The ground shook. Blue light exploded through the subway tunnels. Mana pipes blazed like veins inside the walls. The 6 claimed dungeon cores awakened at once. Stone gates rose from the earth. Barriers unfolded across abandoned streets. A golden blue dome expanded beneath ruined Seoul, swallowing the tunnels, the water facility, the moss farms, the heat stone chambers, and every wall Elias had built. Outside, people across the dead city looked up as Haven revealed itself. Not as a shelter, not as a camp, as a fortress. Above the main gate, a system message appeared large enough for drones to record. Dungeon domain established. Domain name, Haven, Lord, Elias Vorn. Warning, entry without permission will be treated as invasion. Inside Haven, people stared at Elias. Some afraid, some hopeful, some kneeling before they realized they had done it. Elias hated that most of all. He did not want people on their knees. He wanted them alive. But maybe history didn't care what men wanted before handing them crowns. Far away, inside the Helix convoy, Director Seraphine Vale watched the drone feed in silence. The soldier beside her swallowed. Director, should we delay the seizure? Seraphine stared at the glowing fortress beneath Seoul. For the first time since arriving, she did not smile. No, she removed one glove slowly. Call the Ascendant Hunters. The soldier stiffened. All of them. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. Tell them the first Dungeon King has crowned himself. Back in Haven, Elias stood before thousands of survivors waiting for his command. His hands still remembered the crowbar. His skin still remembered the monster's claws. His ears still remembered Mina's voice under concrete. He had never wanted a throne, but the old world had finally come for the new one. And if Elias wanted to protect Haven, he could no longer afford to be only kind. He looked at the guards, the workers, the children, his sister, his people. Then he spoke his first command as Lord of Haven. Prepare for war. The crowd erupted into movement. Alarms rang, gates sealed, weapons were lifted. Dungeon cores burned brighter beneath the city. And then, the sky split open again. A new gate appeared above Haven. But this one was not blue. It was red. The air around it trembled. The system window flickered violently. Unknown dungeon detected. Rank, error, warning. This gate is not natural. Elias stared upward. Every instinct in his body went cold. Then a voice came from inside the red gate. Soft, familiar, impossible. Appa. Mina froze beside him, because the voice from the gate was also Mina's.